Ford and Toyota dealerships serving the Cayman Islands. K-Man Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The K-Man Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Friday, the 16th day of June, 2019. 14th day. I was confusing that with the June 16th edition of the Tradewinds newspaper. Reading too much. June 14th, 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads already, we again urge you to be extremely careful, observe the rules of the road. Remember that the life you save may simply be your own. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know by now, For the Record is a show produced by staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and the 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at CANDW.KY. WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to send us a text message or leave us a voice note. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Before I introduce my guests this morning, 53 years ago, almost to the date, June 16, 1966, in the Tradewinds newspaper. Previously, you heard me talk about, I think it was 1965, when our national hero, Mrs. Sybil McLaughlin, received her award. In June of 1966, there was Her Majesty's birthday celebration was marred by heavy rains. It would normally be held in the Princess Royal Park. It was shifted over to the town hall. When the administrator arrived, they had to drive the car as close to the steps of the town hall as possible because water was settling in front of the town hall. He, with his long legs, was able to stretch from the car onto the steps of the town hall without, or the floor of the town hall without getting wet. The police honor guard, they had to dismiss them because they were soaking wet. The Girls Brigade, the guides and the Scout Cubs, they were positioned inside of the town hall, and the two persons who received birthday honors was the administrator, Mr. J.A. Cumber, and Mr. Clarence V. Thompson. And there's a story in that newspaper about Mr. Clarence Thompson and his rise throughout the civil service. Of course, like many other Caymanians, he started off going to sea. He also worked in Haiti for a while, came back and worked in the postal department as an assistant postmaster. He was in charge of the wireless operations in the post office, because those days the telegraphs and stuff like that all fell under the post office. As well, he was later transferred to customs, became a collector of customs, and of course he was a skilled and experienced surveyor as well, and had a lot to do with surveying and land mapping in the Cayman Islands as well. So that's what happened in 1966 and reported in the Tradewinds newspaper of the 16th of June, 1966. Also, during that period, the fourth meeting of the fourth session of the Legislative Assembly concluded. It was held between the dates of the June 9th, 10th, and 13th in the town hall, and they passed several pieces of legislation as well during that period. So a little bit of history for you. For those of you who don't like to live in the past, I'm sorry, but like I said before, in order for you to know where you're going, you have to know where you came from as well. Folks, it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning members of the official opposition in our Legislative Assembly. We have the Leader of the Opposition, Honorable V. Arden McLean, also with us. We have the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Alva Suku, also with us. MLA and almost Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Mr. Christopher Saunders. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. I'm just stirring things up, you know.
Listen, it was
and I believe everybody in the country, and I know you were being
with tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. Tongue-in-cheek, but a lot of people in the country does not understand what went down there that day.
Yeah, and we're gonna hear it today.
And I think we need to educate our people a little more on what Public Accounts Committee is about, and it's not a political, but it's in their best interest. Mm-hmm. It is in their interest. They say that government. We hear the complaint all the time that government spend too much money, or they don't spend their money properly. That's the purpose of the Public Accounts Committee, to audit government spending on behalf of the people and report it back to the Legislative Assembly. Yes. In essence, that's what the Public Accounts Committee is.
But we have taken it a little bit deeper, because one of the things that we have also started looking at is some government departments in terms of their responsibilities to the public, and if they're doing their job, are they doing what we're basically paying them to do? One that jumps out immediately is off-reg. I mean, the fuel issue has continue being an issue, and even the internet rates, the phone rates that we're paying in this country. I mean, it's somewhat. I mean, the internet, I think we're like one of 190 out of 196 of the highest in terms of broadband in the world. You know what I mean? So, and those are the kind of things that we basically try to take government departments to task for, government entities to task for. One of the things, though, that I will admit that during the 2 years since I've been elected now, is that a lot of stuff that we do just don't get publicized. And I think this is the issue of the media, where sensationalism sells or whatever, and they may just not consider that something that's important. Whereas for a lot of the public, I mean, what we're paying in terms of for the internet and even what we're paying for fuel is something that's very important. So, and this is why I say we now need to do more in terms of getting that information of what it is that we're doing out into the public, because it then creates this kind of impression sometimes that we're not doing enough. And it's kind of ironic that I looked at when you were going back to your Trade Winds publication, and you were saying that the Legislative Assembly met in the town hall on June 9th, 10th, and 13th for like 3 days. And I'm like, you mean to tell me now we've been running this 3-day schedule since like for more than half a century, there must be much more to be done now. So clearly something is wrong when we're running these little 3-day sessions within the LA too. We just have a lot more work to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, the LA has, in my time there, we would meet anywhere between 4 to 5 and 6 to 5 days per year. And I have always pushed for us to meet once a week, which could go into 2 days of the week.
Yeah.
Wherein, and we have a rolling order paper, and you bring up whichever one. Once it enters the order paper, then you bring up whichever one you need to bring up on the next week. And that's how most parliaments do it throughout the Commonwealth.
Yeah. Well, I don't see why we can't operate the same way. I think the only thing that would prevent that would be the fact that everything the government is doing now seems to be rush. It don't seem to be that they're operating on a plan. They seem to be responding to a lot of things that come up. Some of that you can't avoid with especially financial services, but there are things that we could be doing domestically that could be on a fixed schedule, that we're doing this on this certain time and we're taking it to the House on this date. Minister, make sure your stuff is ready. But it don't seem to be working that way. We attended a number of graduations this week.
Okay.
And what I was saying to Mr. Saunders yesterday at the Savannah one was, the number of kids that we are rolling out of the primary schools going into high school. It was, 6 to 7 yesterday? Or close to... It was a high number.
Yeah, it was in the 6s.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, are we doing enough to prepare these kids and to prepare the country for these kids? The way that this government is operating right now, I don't think we are. And it's scary. It's a scary prospect, because I keep saying that when these kids come out of primary school, you can't look at that group of kids and say that, pinpoint anyone that you can say is not going to make it, because they're all bright, they're very intelligent, they're well behaved, they're standing on that stage and they're putting their best forward at graduation. But when you move them into the high school, that's when they start to fail, and this is the point where we should be focusing on these kids. They're the future of this country.
And that's where the weak link exists.
Yeah, that's where, and it starts when they transition from primary to secondary.
Okay, we have to take a commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
The island of Cayman Brac, where it sits on a southwest to northeast diagonal, offered excellent lee protection along most of its northern shore, with locations such as the Bight, Stake Bay, and Spot Bay being home to the majority of the maritime activity. Small communities who thrived on trade, fishing, and shipbuilding were established in these locations due to the combination of waters undisturbed by coral reefs and easy open access between land and sea. One of the largest sources of fresh water was provided through a large cleft known as Watering Place, which was located at the base of the limestone bluff near the Bight. Rain would drip down through the bluff, emerging at the fracture to provide the necessary water for the growing community of traders and shipbuilders.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from The Maritime Heritage of the Cayman Islands by Roger C. Smith.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner, think Bank of the Year. When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
I remember playing at 7 Mile Beach as a boy, eating mango by the sea, learning how to snorkel. My mother, she worked so hard to provide for our family so that we could have those moments. Seeing her age has been tough. A strong, capable woman, now in need of daily support, it's my time to be strong for her.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Wow, it seems I buy a battery every year.
Oh, for real? You should buy your car battery from Vampman. Their batteries are tough. I have a 3-year warranty on mine.
Oh, I know that trick. I take it back and they charge me a percentage of the price.
Hear me out, bro. Not at Vamp Bobo. You can get a 3-year full warranty, no charge. And if they install it at Vamp, it includes free towing and jumping service. And let me tell you, you will never have to get your hands dirty changing no battery.
Get Motorcraft Max or Plus battery for 20% off when it's installed by the service department at Vamp Motors on Walker's Road. Now that's a deal you can get charged up about. Vamp Motors, keeping you on the road.
Extended through June. Saturday, June 15 from 11 a.m. at the Rotary Schoolhouse at the Queen Elizabeth II Botanical Park in Northside. It's Nature's Explorers Storytime by Rotary Central. Come along, skip along, little boys, little girls. You are about to have a marvelous experience. The Nature Explorers Storytime of your lives, featuring Spark School of Performing Arts. Storytime comes alive at the Rotary Schoolhouse in the Botanical Park, where goodies and snacks will be provided for the children. Children must be accompanied by an adult. Nature's Explorers Storytime by Rotary Central. Innovation, inspiration to the next generation. Rotary Central. Be the inspiration.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
There are plenty of reasons to be a Logic customer. There's lightning-fast internet connectivity. There's the great overall customer experience. And now you can improve your Wi-Fi connectivity with Logic Boost Wi-Fi for free. With Boost, you can extend your freedom to stream, game, and download seamlessly anywhere in your home, like your patio or your underground lair if you have one. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It's my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning the Leader of the Opposition, Honorable V. Ard McLean, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, MLA Mr. Alba Suku, and MLA Mr. Christopher Saunders. We have one caller, so we're going straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, if I find that guy, boy.
Morning.
Morning. Yeah, and now listen on. So politics going on here now, crossroads now. Like we shall let us go see. I keep on a predicament that Mark Johnson around the corner, right? And you can't do on that, right? You got to disregard that now. Watch careful there, right? And the Finland now, inadvertently, right, with Chief Justice August on the corner, you know the words with our ruling. You know the decision. Keep that in mind,
Yes,
right?
yes.
That whole agreement, you feel me, right? It's a complete topic. We're going on with my Uncle Elvis with the petition, right? Right? Listen, people's lives were ruined, dampened with that now, right? From the get-go. So, we the concept of error is OC. We got fall out, we're going on differently, right? And anywhere in the world now, globally, right? You have voter suppression under the shadow government, right? Opposition, right? That one is right. More like that, right?
Yeah,
right? Okay. Let me remember. But listen, the whole severity of it being controversial, we're going on, right? The Queen Elizabeth invited Donald Trump the other day. Invitation now. That was courteous now. If you know that latest way we're going on. You feel me? And we're going to Venezuela, right? Russia, Kremlin, White House, China. You saw what I'm saying, right? But we in the financial world, right? We are right. Everything's stringent. You feel me? So, we'll be up to the time. We're going on. Gentlemen, have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. I think he covered almost everything in terms of world news. Boris Johnson, first round of voting, he got 114 votes so far. I think the nearest one to him was something like about 40-something, Michael Gove. So Boris Johnson is leading so far. Now, whether or not that is a ploy to later on switch and you end up with a surprise candidate not coming forward because the names are there already. We know now one thing is for certain, and that is that the next leader of the United Kingdom, next prime minister, is going to be a male. That we know for sure, because all of the women have been eliminated.
Well, one of the things...
they were eliminated in the first round. I haven't even seen
one of the things I want, talking about the future leader, one of the things I want to get back to is our future leaders, which is those are graduations that we attended this week.
Yes, our young people.
One of the things I can say is that we have some serious talent in this country. And give credit where credit is due. I think the Minister O'Connor is trying the best that she can. But one of the things that we as a society need to do and recognize that is a responsibility. That's not a political responsibility. That's a social responsibility on all of us to make sure that we have our children achieve their fullest potential. One of the things, as you were speaking about off mic earlier, when you were speaking about even the number of graduates at CCC years back when, we have come a long way. And there are a lot of people that I speak to today that I can tell you I haven't been in boardrooms all over in many different countries. We have some of the brightest, smartest people in this country. But I recognize that they were born at a time when resources are limited and opportunities wasn't as much as they are today. Yep. And that's one of the reasons why, even looking back at it, why we pushed back to get the free health care for children, because every one of us, that was something that we all, we basically born with, something I born with. And we can't at this time in Cayman's history where we have the most resources, the biggest surpluses, that we can't go back to the basics and invest in our children. And that's one of the things where we wanted to kind of reset the clock to see what it is that we need to do to make sure that our kids are healthy and they have and receive as much education as it is as they can. And I think ultimately, we got kids coming out of school now, some returning back from college. It's important now that we have opportunities abound for these people. Our biggest issue has never been unemployment, has been underemployment, where we have many Caymanians not achieving their full potential. And as a result, feeling undervalued in society. And that's one of the things I give Mr. McLean credit for, is that, he said to me, and to us as a group, say, guys, one of the things that we need to start doing more is to make people feel more valuable in society. I mean, people get up every single day, they work hard, they do what it is they have to do. But they need to know at the end of the day that they're not, skating uphill, and that we have the resources and we have the will necessarily to make sure that the journey becomes much easier and they realize their potential.
We always see, and we all know where we came from, but that should not be an impediment to where we're going. And people must be.
It should be a vehicle to help us get there.
Very
important vehicle.
A lot of people don't know, but remember 2003 when Roy brought out that book, The History of the Cayman Islands. He founded the policies. Ever since 2003, that has been my gift to every child that has left the East End Primary School, Every year, without fail, this year was 10. Some years it's 20, some years 22, some years 16, 17. This year it was 10. And I always write some little thing in there for those kids. And this year I told them about it. They must commit themselves to the journey, but don't forget where we came from, Mm-hmm. Don't never forget our humble beginnings, and people must feel valued in their own community. And how we do that? We must make provisions for them in order for them to participate in whatever this country has to offer. And when we stop doing that, then we have lost a whole generation. We have lost a number of generations because those coming after us, those here now and those coming after us and after this next generation that is here is going to be lost too. One of the things I have fought for my whole political career is for us to go up in the middle of East End land where it's nice and high and build the archives where we preserve all that we have been. You see where it's at? One good rainy season and the first floor is going to be filled with water. You remember Hitler? Hitler was his idea of destroying countries and wiping countries out to destroy their history, all their memorabilia, all their artifacts. That is important to this country, and its people must feel valued and look back at where they came.
Folks, we reached the top of the hour, 8 o'clock, the 8 o'clock news. That will take place for about 10, 12 minutes, and for the record, we'll return immediately after that, so please stay tuned.
Thank you, Mr. Connor, and studio time by Price Right is 7:59.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access and information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Kersley Fuller. Errol Bush has retired as chairman of the Cayman Islands Port Authority Board for, quote, personal reasons. According to a press release from the Office of the Premier, the 80-year-old joined the Port Authority in 1979 as Deputy Port Director of Finance and became Port Director in 1986, a role he served in until December 2001. He was named chairman of the Port Authority Board under the Progressives-led government in August 2013. Deputy Chairman Eric Joseph will serve as interim chair. Cabinet will appoint a replacement for Mr. Bush as chairman of the Port Authority Board in, quote, the near future. Southwest inaugural direct flight from Baltimore to Grand Cayman is scheduled to land this Saturday. Flight 3989 is expected to arrive around 11:15 at Owen Roberts International Airport. The seasonal flight will operate weekly on Saturdays. Southwest also offers direct flights from Houston and Fort Lauderdale. And the 2019 DART Grants awards $250,000 to 9 recipients. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
Special Needs Foundation Cayman received a $50,000 DART grant in support of its inclusion program. 8 additional local nonprofit organizations each received $25,000. Launched earlier this year, DART Grants is a new program of fixed grants, which the company says is intended to optimize DART's positive impact on the local community by providing targeted support to well-run, registered nonprofits with high-value work in the areas of youth development, education, or the environment. In its initial year, the DART Grants program received 50 applications from local nonprofits. In the first round of the selection process, applications were checked for basic eligibility requirements, alignment with 3 areas of focus, and some 30 were shortlisted for further consideration. In the second round, 2 separate teams of internal reviewers evaluated the applications against 6 criteria, chosen to ensure objectivity, and then ranked the finalists. DART staff of approximately 400 were invited to vote for the recipient of the $50,000 DART grant from the 3 top-scoring finalists, and the Special Needs Foundation was selected as the recipient. The other 2 finalists, the Central Caribbean Marine Institute and Queen Elizabeth II Botanic Park, will each receive a grant of $25,000 CI. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
6 $25,000 DART grants were awarded to the Alex Panton Foundation, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Cayman's Acts of Random Kindness, and the Cayman Islands Sailing Club, Literacy for Everyone, and the Stingray Swim Club. The application period for next year's DART grants will open in January 2020. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Kersley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Jerry Smith. Iran has dismissed accusations by the United States that it was to blame for attacks on 2 oil tankers on Thursday as unfounded and alarming. Washington earlier released a video showing what it said was the crew of an Iranian Revolutionary Guards patrol boat removing an unexploded mine from one of the ships in the Gulf of Oman. President Xi Jinping of China has promised continued support for Iran. Doctors in India are taking part in a nationwide stoppage to demand better protection from violence at work. Colleagues in the state of West Bengal began a strike on Tuesday after a doctor was attacked by the relatives of a patient who died. Experts at the World Health Organization are meeting to decide whether the Ebola outbreak in eastern Congo should be declared an international public health emergency. Uganda reported its first cases earlier this week. Russian-backed Syrian government forces are reported to have killed 28 people in attacks on rebel-held territory in the northwest of the country. In recent months, the government has significantly stepped up its attacks, forcing hundreds of thousands to flee their homes. A one-day general strike is getting underway in Brazil in protest against the government's planned changes to pensions. President Jair Bolsonaro came to power in January, promising to make pension reform a priority. The former leader of an Australian cult who persuaded followers that she was the reincarnation of Christ has died at the age of 98. Anne Hamilton Byrne led a doomsday set called The Family for over 20 years. BBC News.
Access. Information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman 3 to 6 mix on the weekdays. Brought to you by
Cayman Insurance Center, serving the community for 45 years. Don't take chances with your family's future. Call Denise Brown at 814-7229 or Michael Webster at 925-5433. Fitness Plus and Train with Dre. Getting in shape has never been easier with the mobile fitness app by Train with Dre and the new Eco Power Sport Art equipment.
Every day.
Every day. All the time. All the time.
Visit fitnessplus.com for more information. And City Walk, serving Chinese, Japanese, and Filipino dishes until 11 p.m. each night. East meets West at City Walk. Dine in, take out, or order online. See their full menu at citywalk.ky. Call 947-9965.
Ultimate party show in the afternoon. Radio Cayman Super Jam.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
The Weather Report is proudly sponsored by Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky. New stock has just arrived at Super Stitch. Now don't take my word for it. Drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Super Stitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Super Stitch, 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Good morning. Let's take a look at what's happening weather-wise. Synopsis indicate isolated showers along with light to moderate southeast winds and seas will prevail across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours. Radar images show scattered showers in and around the Cayman area, which are moving towards the west. Now, the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of morning showers and possible thunder. Temperatures will be in the low 90s. Your winds will be east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. The forecast for tonight is pretty much the same, partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures falling to the upper 70s tonight. Your winds will be east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Low tide will be this afternoon at 1:36 and a high tide again tonight at 8:15. The sun will set this evening at 7:03 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5:48. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Saturday morning. Current temperature is 84 degrees, relative humidity is 87%, barometric pressure 30.00 inches and steady. The wind is east at 6 knots. Overnight low temperature was 79 degrees.
Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center was the proud sponsor of the Weather Report, your one-stop shop for all of your household items, craft items, jewelry, beads, and decorations, and much more. Call Super Stitch at 949-2833 or email customer care at superstitch.com.ky. New stock has just arrived at Super Stitch. Now don't take my word for it. Drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Super Stitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Super Stitch, 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look at what's happening on our roads. Busy traffic coming from the east on Shamrock Road as well as on the Linford-Pearson Highway. Steady traffic on Crew Road, and traffic also steady but flowing on Huldah Avenue. Thomas Russell Way, moderate flow of traffic, and light to moderate traffic flow coming from the West Bay 4-way stop. On Godfrey Nixon Way and on Eastern Avenue, traffic is flowing moderately. No major issues on Owen Roberts Drive. Traffic is light to moderate. On the West Bay Road and from the Ritz, traffic flowing moderately in both directions, and moderate flow of traffic on Edward Street and on Shedden Road. And coming from the Butterfield roundabout heading towards the Industrial Park area, traffic flowing moderately in both directions. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll update you traffic-wise, and have a good morning and buckle up.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit K, where people come first.
The 18th Annual Talent Exposition of the Arts, Sunday, June 30th at the Hockwell Theatre, is brought to you by the New Self-Help Community Foundation. This event is proudly sponsored by Logic, Walkers, NCB Group, Thompson Shipping, Frank Hall Homes, Fashion Mart, Caymanian Times, Dr. Steve Tomlinson, A.L. Thompson's, Rich and Connolly, CUC, Cayman Islands National Credit Bureau, Burger King, Automotive Art, Brown's Esso, Fire Extinguisher Pros, and Radio Cayman. Prepaid tickets for the 2019 Talent Exposition of the Arts at the Hockwell Theatre are available at Funky Tanks and Winner Circle Sports for $10 or $15 at the gate.
Get set to get wet at the Flowers 1 Mile Sea Swim on Saturday, June 15th. Be a part of the world's richest open water event with over $100,000 in cash and prizes to be won. 1 in 7 wins. Celebrating 27 years with Swim and Win. Random prizes including smartphones, tablets, airline tickets to London, New York, Rome, Portugal, Dublin, Los Angeles, Brazil, Mexico, Toronto, Montego Bay, and more. No race day registration and limited to 1,000 swimmers. So register online today. Visit flowersseaswim.com for more information. All registration fees will be donated to the Special Olympics Cayman Islands. The 27th Annual Flowers 1 Mile Sea Swim on Saturday, June 15th. Proud sponsors include the Flowers Group, the Department of Tourism, Davenport Development, the Cayman Compass, Remax, Red Sail Sports, DART, and the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, we have Leader of the Opposition, Honorable V. Arden McLean, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Alvis Suku, MLA, Mr. Christopher Saunders, and we're also joined by MLA, Mr. Kenneth Bryan, as well. Mr. Bryan, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC, and good morning to your listening and viewing audience across the island and across the world, now that we've become international with our YouTube presence. And good morning, colleagues.
Okay, I want to bring that mic a little closer to you. Before we go on, I've received we have received a WhatsApp message from a distraught, concerned resident of the Cayman Islands. Says here, good morning, Mr. Connor. Today marks 8 days since my home has been destructively broken into and our lives turned upside down as all our important documents were stolen. The person points out that they are of no use to the person or persons who took them, and they're pleading just have for once return them. Just place them in a plastic bag and drop it off. This person, they're very important documents that are of no use to the person or persons who stole them, and we trust that they have not destroyed them. If anyone comes across any documents, maybe they may have put them in someone's garbage, dropped them on the side of the road or whatever. If you come across anything of an interest, please maybe pass them on to the police, and the police can then contact the person or persons who they may be related to as well. So 8 days since the house was burglarized and documents stolen, documents that are valuable only to the owners themselves. We have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I heard a little bit of a conversation where Mr. McLean was speaking with regards to archived documents, and I wanted to also congratulate him on the thinking of giving the the gift of a history book of the Cayman Islands to students students at the Eastern Primary School. It's unfortunate that we have not really, as a country or as a community, fully comprehended the meaning of information or the value of information, and especially historical information and records. Also, I know that you always go back to the Northwester, and you always try to give
trade winds.
the trade winds, and give people that type of perspective, because really we are continuously negotiating with ourselves. We are negotiating with ourselves. Okay, so we are continuously reconstructing our personalities, our views, our outlook, and so forth and so on. So we're just like our body grows, and then it needs certain types of nourishment to continue. It's the same with the intellect. It's the same with our intelligence. We need certain types of stimulus or stimuli to keep the growth of our very knowledge of ourselves or recognition of ourselves. And I'm saying that to say that when Prince Charles makes the remark about they should teach music in school to make kids more civil, I guess a lot of people look at that and they wouldn't even understand what he's saying, or they think it's a little funny or something like that. But it's true. The types of sensitivities that children will have will depend very much upon what they're fed intellectually. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have that spirit of community to feed them with, they will have no spirit of community, or the spirit of community that they will have will be a very negative one that will be adverse to the one that is desired by those people that are leading the society. So we see the importance of information and the importance of having information when we sit down to discuss the roles of our politicians, the roles of our Constitution, because sometimes I think that people do not understand that the Legislative Assembly is more than a legislative body. It is the head of the body, the head of the country. It is the hierarchy, it's the pinnacle of the hierarchy of a society. It helps to formulate consciousness, not just laws, consciousness and direction and values and norms in the society. Just like a church provides the spiritual constitution and guidance for the population, the state is supposed to do it on the more secular level. And it's important that those children be acquainted by the importance or of the importance of the history of their country. And so I wanted to just sort of emphasize the fact that when we talk about the amount of time that people spend in the Legislative Assembly, we have to understand that that is not the only place for the politicians to be able to interact with their society. We, at this moment, need to have a lot more interaction with our politicians as builders of consciousness that will then determine the direction that they might be able to lead the country in. So I know that you also have the RIS radio program here, and we're all grateful for it.
Thank you.
There's a lot that the politicians can do to create the kinds of dialogue in the society that will elevate their consciousness of themselves and the directions that they need to go in or want to go in collectively. So that's my little bit for today. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Doc, for that. Mr. McLean?
I agree with Dr. Frank. However, here is one of the real problems that I have found, or concerns that has raised its head with this thing about dialogue and raising the consciousness of people and ourselves as legislators. Immediately, because we are not a very old country in the sense of our parliamentary structure, our politics and the likes. I mean, you're talking 50, 60 years. It's 60 years this time, the first constitution. And that's within this the generation that we currently have. Other countries are 500, 1,000 years old, developing that. We are still at that stage where people believe it is a matter of arguing. I went into the Legislative Assembly in 2000, and I keep telling these young men here that they are so much less fortunate than I was when I went there. There were at least 8 people in there at the time. You remember, we were only 15 of us at that time too. Now it's 19. There were 8 people in there with long tenure that gave me experience. One was that taught me this thing, and one of them was Frank, Dr. Frank McPhail. They had been there before me. They had understood the system. Of course, I went on and further enhanced my own knowledge of it, but using them as the point of reference. And that's the only way some of these things are passed on. So we learn from that. I agree with Dr. Frank in that regard. But the populace, we need to educate them as well on what that legislature is. Like he said, it's more than making laws. It's much more than making laws. But when you get politicians in power, and I said this on the floor of the Legislative Assembly recently, when you get power and might colliding, what we get is a we lose sense of our democracy, the building of a democracy. And I saw that at work very, very much so last week when that power and that might collided. Then, we were losing sense and perspective of that democracy. But we need to teach our people that as well. It's unfortunate that those who have left the legislature, some retired, some lost in elections. All of us have a responsibility to educate our people on what their country is and the structure of this country. And that's why we don't engage that well in the dialogue. And as soon as they hear a politician say something, they're rowing or they want something out of it. And that's not true. I mean, there are so many of us, the majority of us gave up so much in our personal lives to go in there to be a representative. I mean, but nobody was holding a gun to our heads, but it was a duty to service to your country. And I think that's one of the areas that we really need to look at. And the objective must be to enhance people's lives, make them feel valued, and get them and ensure that all boats rise, and many of us have this thing that, if the hole is in your end of the boat, then I don't have to worry about it. Well, that's not true. The water is soon going to reach everybody's feet, and then rise steadily based on that on that leak. So we need to patch the boat, teach our people, and Dr. Frank, I totally agree with you. The consciousness of our people needs to be lifted.
Mm-hmm. Anyone has anything to add to that? No?
Well, I wanted to chime in to say that I agree 100% with both Mr. McLean and Dr. Frank. If we don't give our kids, especially that point of reference as to where they come from, who they are, mm-hmm. then there's little hope that they're going to move forward in a manner that is going to be reflecting the values and the the society that we want to have for them and that they come from. And that's, as a result of that, what we're seeing is that our society is evolving. We are accepting a lot more in terms of outside influences. Our kids are rapidly accepting those and conforming to those. And our culture and our heritage takes a backseat. That can't be good for any country. What I want to see is more effort being made on the part of government to push forward with. We do have a culture policy, but to keep pushing that forward and developing it, making sure that we instill in especially our young people, a sense of pride in this country. This country has done great things. We have survived many natural disasters and other disasters aimed at us, designed to keep us down. So, we have to be proud of that. We have to be proud of those that came before us, who built this country, those that went to sea and risked their lives, lost their lives going to sea. We don't hear much about that anymore, but that is where we come from. We all have salt water in our veins, and that is, part of our makeup, our genetic makeup. Now we need to enhance that and make sure that those coming behind us now are, understand the value of that, the importance of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We have one caller. Ms. Susan, you want to take the caller before the break? We have about 2 minutes. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Rossi, and good morning to your guest, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, and Mr. Chris Sander, and Mr. Kenneth Bryan, and Mr. Alva Saku.
Morning. Good morning. This is the crew.
I should say assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. First, I want to take this opportunity to pose some notes and question to the opposition. First, we have three major issues in the Eastern District we face in the seaweed, the mosquito, and the unemployment. And I hear the government did want to do the program which they want to employ the unemployed people to do the cleanup for the program. So I'm urging the opposition here to ask the government that the opportunity have to be given to unemployed Caymanian who are from those districts. Because Bodentown, East End, North Side is the three districts affected by the seaweed. So the people to have to get the opportunity to work, I hope they will be from those three districts, be the opportunity more than other districts, because those three districts, the one affected, and those people are living the district. So I think they have the right to get the opportunity before anyone. The other thing is the problem of public bus transport. We have the issue of public bus transport that sometime from in the evening part, when people come in from Georgetown toward the two Eastern District, those bus driver behavior, they don't want to go to North Side or East End, they just want to go to Bodentown. And I think this issue need to be addressed. The last thing is the issue of the mosquito. We noticed that after this program the government did in Wispy, the mosquito in all Cayman Island becoming an issue and a problem, and it become a major and serious problem. Those issues, what is concerning the people, and last issue is the raising prices of gas in this country. That is the issues I have concern about, and I thank you for your coming to the radio. I see the government don't come so much, and I think we have a strong opposition in this country, and a united opposition, and we will see a good performance to the opposition from now on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. Time for a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue with the Leader of the Opposition, Honourable V. Arden McLean, Deputy Leader Mr. Alva Suku, MLA Mr. Christopher Saunders, and MLA Mr. Kenneth Bryan. So please stay tuned.
Saturday, June 15 from 11 a.m. at the Rotary Schoolhouse at the Queen Elizabeth II Botanical Park in Northside. It's Nature's Explorers Storytime by Rotary Central. Come along, skip along, little boys, little girls. You, our little people, are about to have a marvelous experience. The Nature Explorers Storytime of your lives, featuring Spark School of Performing Arts. Storytime comes alive at the Rotary Schoolhouse in the Botanical Park, where goodies and snacks will be provided for the children. Children must be accompanied by an adult. Nature's Explorers Storytime by Rotary Central. Innovation, inspiration to the next generation. Rotary Central. Be the inspiration.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Wow, it seems I buy a battery every year.
Oh, for real? You should buy your car battery from Vampman. Their batteries are tough. I have a 3-year warranty on mine.
Oh, I know that trick. I take it back and they charge me a percentage of the price.
Hear me out, bro. Not at Vamp Bobo. You can get a 3-year full warranty, no charge. And if they install it at Vamp, it includes free towing and jumping service. And let me tell you, you will never have to get your hands dirty changing no battery.
Get Motorcraft Max or Plus battery for 20% off when it's installed by the service department at Vamp Motors on Walkers Road. Now that's a deal you can get charged up about. Vamp Motors, keeping you on the road.
Extended through June. Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have one caller on hold, so we're going to take that call and then give our panel an opportunity to respond to the previous caller's comments, several issues that he raised there, and let's see what this caller has to say as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Good morning.
Yes, I noticed that Mr. Anthony Eden is not joining you all.
You haven't been listening to the show. I'm going to interrupt you there, caller. Mr. Anthony Eden had a minor medical situation, and he's recuperating from that, and that was expressed last week.
3
Friday.
weeks. 3 weeks now. And by the way, we have never known. When I was part of PPM and we were leading up to the 2005 election, I believe, was one of the few times Anthony ever went on radio. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we can measure Anthony Eden based on how many radio show appearances he makes. Mm-hmm. But for anything.
Yeah, go right ahead, caller.
Yes. And I noticed, Mr. Arden, you were asking to help certain individuals with concessions in East End.
No, I didn't. I didn't ask for certain individuals. I asked for the Eastern districts because, by and large, the Eastern districts are left out of that quote-unquote tourism miracle that we are experiencing, have always experienced in this country. And I asked the government to consider people who were trying to start businesses, like such as putting a little piece onto their house to do a one-bedroom or something to get into Airbnb, and small little restaurants, small little businesses, whatever, up to $300,000 in value, to waive all of their fees. And then government...
And revenues too.
And revenues as well, up to $300,000 to waive all their fees. That would assist them with doing it. And then government changed that on the floor. The Deputy Premier moved the motion to change my motion to increase those two numbers to 500,000.
Caller, you got that?
Yes. Just let me speak, please, because you all gonna have plenty of time to speak.
Yeah, but I didn't do any,
but what we're not going to let you do is to continue your train of thought if it's erroneous in the first place. Go right ahead, caller.
Don't let your answer be so long that I'm not able to speak.
Well, and you want to try to be as factual as you can.
Okay. Well, what I would expect from you all, now that you all have the opportunity to bring certain things to the floor, is I don't have a problem with giving away concessions to certain individuals, especially people who are not wealthy rich. But I do have a problem when the government continues to give away concessions to billionaires and people who are very rich, because that money that they're giving away is our money, is the people's money. And that money could go towards things such as trade schools. That money could go towards such things as a pension fund. And when it comes to DART, and making deals with DART, I hear he's giving away $25,000 to such and such and such and such and such. That's okay. That's okay. But if you are going to continue giving away millions of dollars to people such as DART, why don't you all ask him in return to build some trade schools in this country? First of all, you can build one in Georgetown. You can build one in Bordentown afterwards. And then afterwards, we can work our way to getting one in West Bay and one in East End. Those are the kind of things you all should be bringing to the floor of the House. And things such as what the banks are doing when they collect quarters, taking $2.50 out of $10 worth of quarters automatically. That's another thing you all should be bringing to the floor of the House. And Mr. McLean, you being employee at CUC,
former
employee at CUC, before you were a member of the Legislative Assembly, you should not have been the one involved in any deal, 25-year deal with CUC. Because right now, I've noticed with CUC, they raise their rates every summer of every year. And that is not right. After you all, as the government, are helping them by letting them pay less for their fuel. And electricity bills has everything to do with everything else in this country.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. One more caller. Let's see if we can take that caller before the break. And caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you all this morning?
Fine and
Not
sure.
too bad, thank you.
I am fine. I'm glad to be talking to the new opposition of this country. And I want to compliment you guys. There's a lot of faith in you as leaders of the opposition, that you will make a difference in the Cayman Islands. And I'm going to thank you beforehand for all of the efforts that you have made as elected leaders and that you will make as members of the opposition, with your new leader of the opposition there. I do agree with the caller's last comment about CUC and the automatic increase of electricity bills. I think that's the algorithm they have set in their computing system, and that's only my thought because of the way that I have observed how it multiplies between those 3 months. And I personally haven't been away from home July and August last year, and my electricity bill still doubled, and there was no air conditioning being run in this house. And Mr. McLean, I think it was around April when you spoke about the illegality of the banking system, the check cashings and so on and so forth.
Yes.
I'm on the phone. Thanks. 1 minute. Thanks. Can you go back at that, please?
Okay.
Can you please go back at that? It is illegal. It has been declared in the assembly as illegal, and the practice still continues. It is a outright spit in the face when I have a government check and I take it to the bank on which it was drawn, which is no secret in this country because there's only one, that's RBC, and they refuse to cash a government check that I am paying them to monitor the account for because I don't have a personal bank account there. But if I take it to my private bank, my own personal bank on whom the check is not drawn, will give me same-day value for it. So you see the difference in the personality between the two banking systems. To be charging people at the counter $1 for a check that has already been paid for and is being maintained by a check holder's finances, and then I have gone to work and I have received a check from someone for the work that I have done, and then I have to pay again to get the check cashed because I don't have an account there. When Cable and Wireless was doing that, it was called double billing, and they were stopped from doing it because the caller and the receiver could not pay the same bill. Now, please go back at that, and let's get that mess cleaned up. I was very grateful when you discussed it in the House on the floor. I was delighted to read it had received press coverage, and now let's put a stop to it. It is, now that's real bank robbery.
Unconscionable.
I'm telling you, and as long as you sit down and allow it to happen, it is going to happen. Okay? Now, the other thing...
very quickly, caller, we have to go to a commercial break soon.
Yeah, OC, just hold on 1 second. Thank you very much, sir. There's two other things I call in about this morning, in particular, seeking information. OC, I know you can find this for me, and I'm going to have 3/4 information I need. You remember Motion 390?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. You remember the March of 1970? Jim Borden and them? I go in to listen in so I can get off the phone. I hear OC talking about going to pay the bills, as they call it, right? After the break, if you could discuss those two things for me so I can... I have a lot of information on it, but I still have some key pieces that's missing out from it. So go ahead and discuss it, because I think also it's a great discussion considering the March for Family Tomorrow, that they need to see that there were marches that were held in this country before when the people saw something that they did not agree with.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. We're going to commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue, so please stay tuned.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, formerly known as Professional Pharmacy, would like to thank the Cayman communities for their loyal support these past 18 years. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care. Thorough background checks and follow-up consultations is only the beginning. Your safety is our concern. Our staff are respected healthcare professionals whose job requires careful and precise calculations. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, where we prepare to provide exceptional care. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we care about your health.
Did you know the third most important factor for customer retention is cleanliness? With 95% of shoppers saying exterior appearance influences where they decide to shop. Keep your business clean with Roper's Janitorial. From offices to restaurants, interior and exterior, walls to rugs and flooring, Roper's cleans it all, including 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Dress your business for success with Roper's Janitorial. We make your business shine. 949-2511.
At Logic, we make things better for our customers. It's why we're offering free Boost Wi-Fi. With Boost, you get improved Wi-Fi connectivity everywhere in your home, so there's no more dead zones. The only people we're not making this better for is parents. Because now with seamless Wi-Fi in every room in your home, go to your room isn't really the punishment it used to be. Sorry about that. Sign up now for any Logic bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
Saturday, June 15 from 11 a.m. at the Rotary Schoolhouse at the Queen Elizabeth II Botanical Park in Northside. It's Nature's Explorers Storytime by Rotary Central. Come along, skip along, little boys, little girls. You, our little people, are about to have a marvelous experience. The Nature Explorers Storytime of your lives, featuring Spark School of Performing Arts. Storytime comes alive at the Rotary Schoolhouse in the Botanical Park, where goodies and snacks will be provided for the children. Children must be accompanied by an adult. Nature's Explorers Storytime by Rotary Central. Innovation, inspiration to the next generation. Rotary Central. Be the inspiration.
It's hard to shop for Dad, isn't it? He seems to have everything and loves anything you buy, but you want that special gift. So now is the time to head down to Christian Enlightenment Center. You will find Christ-centered resources that educate, encourage, and inspire. Show Dad your appreciation for his love, kindness, and the strong support he's given over all these years. Make Christian Enlightenment Center your first stop for Father's Day gifts that will leave a lasting impression on your dad's heart. Christian Enlightenment Center, open 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday in Georgetown.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have about 10 minutes, maybe 11 minutes before we go to headline news at 9 o'clock. What we're going to do is we're going to close the phone lines off for now. We're going to close the phone lines off until after 9 o'clock to give our panel here an opportunity to respond to all of the questions and comments that were made by previous callers as well. Gentlemen.
Go on, Kenny.
OC, I think it's important that I address the seaweed problem that was raised by I think it was a third caller away. I raised the question in the Legislative Assembly, and the Honourable Minister Joey Hugh addressed it by saying that the government is currently in the process of trying to initiate the NICE program concept again to potentially use it as an opportunity to give Caymanians work. I understand the caller was suggesting that most of the persons from the eastern districts should be considered for work, and I think all Caymanians should be considered for work, particularly those who are unemployed. And there's many unemployed persons in Georgetown as well as in West Bay. But I'm happy to know that at least that is on its way. The only concern that I have there is that the government is now deciding to go ahead and purchase some very expensive equipment when we know that there are Caymanian businesses locally that have some of that equipment that is not in operation because they're not being used by way of contract work. So I encourage the government to make sure to give Caymanians the opportunity, particularly small businesses, to be involved, as well as Caymanians who are unemployed. If I could just clarify, I'm not sure if it was accurate that we determined on the floor of the House in respect to if it is an illegal act that a bank charges you a fee for changing that check. Because I remember asking a few questions on it as well, and I think that we need a full ruling on that from the Attorney General. But bearing in mind the bank that the government uses is Royal Bank of Canada, so I think the Civil Service and the Deputy Governor would probably be in charge of that decision. because it's in my eyes, an act of bad faith to not address that problem when Caymanians bring it up all the time. Many Caymanians depend on those checks.
Not a financial service, financial Minister of Finance, or...
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess from the accounting perspective, but generally speaking, it's a civil service.
Have to be involved in.
Gentlemen, let me just chime in on two issues here, and start with the fuel prices and then to the banks. First of all, there's a lot more that we can be doing at fuel that we're not doing, and this has been one of my bone of contentions with OFREG. I mean, just looking at the stats in the U.S., for example, and bearing in mind, I did go through the converting a U.S. gallon to imperial gallon, so we're basically on the same page in terms of just show that we're comparing apples with apples. I mean, 2017, just to give an example, and just looking at the ESO stats, we were basically paying an average $4.35 for a gallon. In the States, it was, I'm talking in CI dollars here, by the way. It equivalents to $2.50 average in 2017. In 2018, we were basically paying $4.63 average. In the States, it was about $2.90. So in one case, in 2017, we were basically paying $1.85 more per gallon. And then in 2018, we're paying $1.73 more per gallon. And when you consider the makeup of what goes into fuel, I'm telling you straight up, in no uncertain terms, we are being ripped off. Period. Mm-hmm. There is no justification for that markup when, in essence, we're all getting fuel from the Gulf of Mexico and in different places. If you understand the shipping that goes on behind with what goes on with in the fuel prices, and this is where OFREG really needs to get up. And I remember we had this debate when we were bringing this new law with the fuel thing that all of this would have been dealt with, and the truth of the fact is it has not been dealt with, and the Caymanian consumer continues to be ripped off both at the pump and the plug. With regards on the banking, I just want to and just bear in mind, just to kind of give me a little bit of leeway in terms of explaining to it, and then to show you why the banks are literally getting away with murder. During the financial crisis time, when the interest rates literally went down to nothing, banks were basically being pressured to improve their bottom line. And because at the time, just to kind of put things in context, most shareholders are looking at 8 to 12% return on the on the investment in terms of banks. If your biggest line item in terms of making money is interest, and the prime rate is at 3.25%, you are well below what you would need in order to make your bottom line target. So that's when a lot of banks started looking around at charging fees and everything else under the sun in which to pick up for that lost revenue and in interest income. Now that interest rates have started going back up, they have not, in many cases, they have not reduced the fees because it's like, you know what, people have sat down and people have taken the fees. Now, people didn't complain about the fees before when the interest rate was basically so low. But now with interest rates going up, and you still leave with the fees them as if though you're still struggling, that's really what I have a problem with. And that is, and this is the issue that I have with government, because government has the buying power. And we have said this, that you can pick up the phone and say to RBC or any other bank that, listen, when it comes on the government check, you cannot take a cent from it. And why it matters to us is that when we factor in the courts where we have many people paying child support, some of those checks are being issued weekly. And if you go cash 52 checks for the year, that is $520 that you would have been paid in bank fees. Do you know what $520 can do for a young mother who is basically already a single mother, depending on child support? I mean, this is just nothing short of being... I don't want to use the C word again. But the reality of it is a lot more that we can do. And what the banks and other companies do is what we allow them to do. And therein lies my problem with the government, because when these issues come up, they do not want to deal with this issue.
Because we've seen in other jurisdictions where attempts were made to do the same thing, and when there was an uproar, they backed the banks back down.
Yeah, and also I will tell you, and when we took the motion, the last sitting concerning free health care for kids, this goes back to the point. What we need isn't more excuse. What we need is a political will to get things done. And this is, I think, one of the things that separate us in opposition for those on the government bench is the will. The will to sit back and tackle the issues that needs to be tackled. This whole issue of just running this runaway economy, this open immigration policy, you're getting up, you're talking about, the unemployment rate is this, and when the real problem is the underemployment, and sitting down and telling me that my people are only good enough to go do seaweeds, coliguanas, and clean up road when you have people coming inside there enjoying a quality of life that our people is not getting, is something I cannot reconcile, and it's something I cannot support.
And
you know what I mean?
For cheap
wages. You know what I mean? Yeah, and this goes back to the same. We have literally imported poverty in this country, and have now literally destroyed the private sector with cheap labor. Where the only place left that Cayman can get a decent wage on average is actually within the public sector. And then they complain about the civil servants getting paid too much. As it ever occurred to anyone that people in the private sector is being paid too little? That's the problem, It's not that public servants are getting too much. It's that private sector is being paid too little because of the cheap labor that we have allowed. We have right now almost 60% of the people inside the private sector on work permits. Do you know what that does to the labor market in terms of demand and supply? And then where we need to tackle it is some of these work permits are too cheap. You have Caymanians competing for jobs where the work permit is even less than $1,000. So then once you get a permit where that employer can say to this employee, this is what I'm paying you, take it or leave it. That becomes the market. So when we sit back and allow foreigners to be exploited in this country, and we have done it for years, this is our own chickens coming home to roost. Because at first we said it wasn't us, but eventually when enough of it has happened, it becomes the norm, it becomes the market, and we're the ones that are affected. Who in this country can realistically live on $6 an hour? Realistically. It's impossible. So these are the kind of issues that needs to be tackled.
And let's not leave out the reality of it too, the discrimination factor.
Listen,
we have companies here with 60 plus people employed and 2 Caymanians. And I could call names if you want to.
Here's the fundamental problem, OC, and this is where we differ. And I will say this much, and some people may not like it, and my colleagues are asking for forgiveness in advance if I become quite blunt. The people that we need to tackle in this country are the people who finance politicians. And until we take on the way in which politicians in this country finance, we're not going to get much change. And that's one of the real problems in this country, is the people who are making other people's lives miserable, the people who are charging people money that they shouldn't be charging, are the same people that donate to politicians.
Okay, we've reached the top of the hour, 9 o'clock, headline news. When we return, the conversation will continue with Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable V. Arden McLean, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Alva Suku, MLA Mr. Kenneth Bryan, and MLA Mr. Christopher Saunders. I want to remind you of our numbers, our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord, at candw.ky. WhatsApp us on 925-3261 and follow us on YouTube by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. From Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
There is a funeral procession today starting from Buntown Funeral Home on Walkers Road, traveling via Walkers Road, Smith Road, Holt Avenue, North Sound Road, Godfrey Nixon Way, and Eastern Avenue through to St. George's Anglican Church on Courts Road. The procession is expected to take place from noon until 5, and motorists are being advised to exercise caution if traveling in these areas during the time and to anticipate any possible delays. The U.S. military has released a video which it says shows Iranian special forces removing an unexploded mine from the side of an oil tanker damaged in an attack in the Gulf of Oman on Thursday. The U.S. also released images of the Japanese tanker apparently showing the unexploded mine before it was removed. The U.S. accused Iran of being behind the attacks. Iran said it, quote, categorically rejected the allegation. And women across Switzerland have begun a day of demonstrations against what they say is the country's unacceptably slow pace to equality. Today's protest comes 28 years after similar action saw 500,000 women take to the streets in 1991. Swiss women have long campaigned to accelerate the pace of gender equality. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have reopened the phone lines now so that callers can call in. I think we have touched on all of those subjects that we've touched most of the subjects, but for those who want to continue the conversation on those topics, let's go right ahead.
Well, see, I think it'd be appropriate that we address the questions that we've been asked by the audience. So once we've addressed all of those, I think then we can get to the phone lines.
That's what I said we were doing.
Okay.
Okay. Well, see, I want to address that one that the gentleman talked about. Me being a part of the, I shouldn't have negotiated with CUC.
That's all had, of course. I mean,
but
addressed that and covered that so many times.
I think we need to.
Sorry. If you look at the base of the line of questions, we've been in this business long enough to know when there's a politically loaded question. It started out with the Anthony Eden issue. Then it went to the concession issue. And then, listen, I can tell you have dealt with that. I think the public has been aware of it. The people of Eastern have been aware of it. They have sent you back many times after. I think that is something that has thing there. And there are more pressing issues that we have. I think that has already been ventilated as much as it can. It's political loaded. We have been in this business long enough. We know what it is like. And we're thinking about it has been ventilated, and the people of Eastern know better, and the people of the Cayman Islands know better.
You know what I mean? I totally agree, but maybe I should direct them to the license and understand the formulas that were used and the court.
I think
and
that
the court
is different.
Yes, and the courts, we and the people who did that was Charlie Farrington Westby, Samuel Jackson as my lawyer, Oliver as chairman, and Mr. He out of Jamaica, who was recommended to me by World Bank. Mm-hmm. Those were the people who did that negotiation. And they developed a system called RCAM. And at first everybody was against it. And then eventually, even the courts have now ruled that it should be used on all utilities in this country. And interestingly, that system reduced CUC rates by 38% after the negotiations. But people saw it initially for a short period of time because fuel was low at that time. The cost of fuel was low at that time. But you can't negotiate fuel costs. Fuel is run by world price, Mm-hmm. And it fluctuates up and down. At that time, we also reduced the fuel on CUC from 50 cents down to 20 cents, 25 cents, 20 cents. The incoming government put it back up to 45 cents. And then the PPM administration again reduced it to 25 cents. So those are the things we have to do in those things. But let me tell you, I would invite people to go and look at that. And there is no automatic increase. It is OFREG that must approve those.
Well, I will say this much, and forgive me in advance, because during the last election, Mr. McLean, you and I were on political opposites. And I went through that license looking to find ways to actually beat you over it. Because, that's just the nature of politics. And what I can say to people, if you analyze the CUC bill, and I give credit where credit is due, CUC's crime in all of this is really sending out a ransom note. 55% of the bill is driven by fuel.
Yeah.
35% is actually CUC, and about 10% goes like to about the government fees when I did my analysis. Here's the issue that we have. That 35% that CUC charges is regulated. The 10% I would like to think is regulated by the pool.
Right.
The 55% or the 50% or the half of the bill is unregulated when it comes on to fuel.
Yeah.
And there's no way you can have a bill of that size. And I can tell you, I hate paying my light bill. It's unregulated. And that's why we need serious fuel regulation in this country.
Right.
I am talking price control is not a sexy word. People don't like to hear it. But we need to start regulating those margins because what we're paying for fuel in this country, both at the plug and the pump, is criminal.
But Chris, I made a number of proposals on how we can reduce the cost of fuel. One of them is to operate based on world oil price. Two is we need original invoices, and we put in other countries. What happens is you put an amount that the wholesalers can sell it for over and above the original price. Bahamas does it.
But that goes back to the issue of original invoice, because if you don't have the original invoice, then you can get messed up too.
But we know what the world oil price is for that day.
Exactly.
So what we are doing is we are allowing them. All it takes is a little research, but we're allowing them to manipulate it and tell us what they paid for it.
Right.
And that's where we're getting
But
in
we
trouble.
made changes to the legislation that gave the authority now to government to ask for that information that you need. Whether or not that is being done is another question.
Okay. Let's grab a couple of calls. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'll try not to go around the table, so I'll just say good morning to your guests.
That's fine.
Good morning.
I have two main issues, obviously running out of time, so I'll just try to do them, and then you can respond to me afterwards. But the first one, I think honorable opposition leader and Mr. Saku, this would probably apply more to the two of you because you live in the Savannah area. We've been asking for several years if somebody would bring this to the House, maybe more than one time, and fight for it, that we could have a clinic, fire station, and ambulance in the Savannah area, just like they have it in West Bay, because the closest ambulance to us is Georgetown. We know what the traffic is like. If someone suffers a heart attack or a stroke, they're going to die before help comes to them. And we are a big enough district. I don't even think we're a sub-district anymore. We should be called a district, that we should have our own facilities. So I would ask, as a member of the Savannah community, if this is something that could be seriously considered and perhaps fight that we can get it. The other thing is regarding the banks and foreclosures. I am wondering why the Minister of Financial Services is so very silent on this matter, and the foreclosures, as well as all these bank fees and all the banking irregularities that are going on. I'm also wondering, what is SEMA's role in this whole thing? These are questions. I don't know the answers. And does SEMA have the authority to regulate some of the stuff that is going on? I'm going to hang up, and I would ask you all to please respond.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. Let's take the other caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
See, I have two concerns I would be interested to hear the disposition of the opposition members on.
Certainly, sir.
First one, and they're interlinked. First one has to do with what seems to be a drive by the merchant establishment to artificially bring our population up to 100,000. I hear where the Chamber of Commerce is having some economic forum, and that's one of the topics on discussion. Second thing is, a corollary to that is, what are we going to do about the proliferation of vehicles coming in to the jurisdiction and really cramming the roads to the point where it is almost a national security issue now? let me hear what the opposition has to say about that, if they share the same concerns I have over these two matters.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have one more caller. We're going to have to try to work out a system here. We're going to take this last caller, close the lines off again, give our panel an opportunity to respond, and we will say when the lines reopen again. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, sir. Morning, Chris, and morning to Mr. McLean. I think, is it only to you two guys in the studio?
No, Alvin Kenneth is here also.
Good morning to Alvin Kenneth.
Morning.
Morning. Now, obviously, though, I couldn't resist the temptation to respond to the CUC issue. And Chris, personally, as a friend, you let Mr. McLean argue that case. You stay out of that. Because I'm going to highlight some things in that me personally, and it's nothing against anybody, it's just whoever took the pamphlet to the mantle to submit it is who we have to deal with. Now, all I got to say is this. Number one, it's 100% direct pass-through cost for fuel to the consumer. Mr. McLean can confirm that.
That's correct. That's correct.
Now, I had the privilege of reading a copy of the purchase order agreement with the fuel merchants to the CUC company, and there is a 6-cent true pipe cost that is paid. Okay, that is paid by the fuel people to CUC for using the pipeline. Now, remember now, CUC is not supposed to benefit from fuel in any way because it's a direct pass-through cost to the consumer. So therefore, that 6 cents is then in turn charged to the consumer because it's 100% direct pass-through cost for fuel. Now that pipeline has been sitting on private and under the bottom of private property for the 40-odd years in its existence. Not one single person on those properties have gotten into compensation or this country for allowing CUC to set up their grid. Now, bear with me for 2 more seconds. Yes, CUC provides an impeccable service. Yes, CUC employ a lot of Caymanians, but it should be no other how. Why are we so up and happy to applaud a company that should be doing these things by policy and regulation from the very beginning, because they only evolved, they morphed into what they're into now. They didn't start out this way. And secondly, I just want to make this clear. Listen, one of the biggest issues we have, and Chris, you were right with the regulatory issues in terms of the fuel being the only thing that's not regulatory. You're 100% right. However, in 1979, there was a report done. Now, this 1979, gentlemen, this 40 years ago. It's not no 10, 15 years ago in the millennial age. This is 40 years ago. There was a report done, someone by the United Nations, and it clearly, in its executive summary, in the first 2 paragraphs, made it very, very clear that if the Cayman Islands wanted to control its utilities and have fairness across the board, it would have sought out to own its grid so that they could have been in a position to have allowed different companies to distribute on it and pay a fee to the government and essentially to the people. Now, all the other things in that, Mr. McLean, I didn't have any issues with. What I did have an issue with is that we gave one company exclusive rights for distribution, and anybody who, for distribution, and anybody who wanted to generate had to be held bound to sell to them so that they could regenerate it and sell it for a profit. Now, those are the fundamental issues that I have with it. And then secondly, let me explain this to the world. That energy surcharge, that alternative energy surcharge that's on our bill now, is only because of the solar and the establishments that have pumped energy back to the grid that are no longer responsible for being a participant in the cost of fuel. So they had to figure out a way to compensate so that company didn't lose a dime. So 2 big issues there. One, why is CUC collecting for true pipe costs 6 cents per gallon, 120,000 gallons of diesel burnt per day in the Cayman Islands? Chris, you're an accountant, and at any point you do the math on that and tell me what that is annually, and you can't tell me that can't pay for social welfare, education, and health care. I'll leave you guys there. That's the only peeve I had this morning. Everything else I like to show, but I just had to stick that out there. You guys have a good one.
Thank you very much, caller. We're going to a commercial break. When we return, you're going to have about 14 minutes, and I want us around the table here to use our time efficiently to try to respond to as many of the questions that have come forward so far, because what we want to do after that is to open up the phone lines again, take some more questions, and give you an opportunity to respond again. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you.
This week at Kirk Home Center, save on a 14-piece stainless steel Tefal cookware set for $119.99. Eliminate creases and wrinkles with Conair's fabric steamer for $46.59. Monitor body fat, water, and BMI with a body analysis scale for $33.99. And relax with a bubbling massage foot spa for $27.19.
Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We've closed off the phone lines temporarily to give our panel an opportunity to respond to the multitude of questions and comments that we had. Gentlemen.
Well, and it's difficult for us to address every single one because
we're
short on time, but I wanted to talk about the caller suggesting that Savannah would need sort of a fire station, ambulance, hospital type setup. We don't have all of that, obviously. What the minister did mention the other day, and we supported, was that he would create, do some upgrades on the existing Bottom clinic to make that more like a mini hospital. We supported that idea because we recognize the need for it. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a long space between saying you're going to do something and doing it. So we're waiting now to see if that's going to get budgetary support and all that in this upcoming budget. But that is something that he's put forward, and we support it. As far as the fire station, I do agree that we need to look at how that can be improved and coverage and so on, and ambulance as well. There is an ambulance, though, available for the Eastern Districts. Whether or not that is sufficient is another question. I've actually queried that with the ministry and was told that they believe, in their opinion, that it is sufficient. The feedback we get on the ground is not that. So that's something else that we will have to tackle. But these things aren't being done in isolation, and clearly we are, having discussions about them. So hopefully we can make some progress there. Okay. There was another question on, Mr. Borden, when he called in, he asked about the proliferation of people. This is something else that we have been talking about. it does puzzle me that we seem to be moving in that direction without any announced plan for it. And I talked about this, all the children coming out of school and moving up into high schools and so on. But what we're suffering from, OC, is a little bit is the success of our tax system that we have created here, where it's based on consumption. So as the government wants to grow and expand and do more things, it needs to generate more revenue. And you can't, they have a policy now of, we're not increasing taxes. So I guess what they're trying to do is to gather that revenue from volume rather than increasing the tax base, the level of taxation. That does give me a lot of concern, though, because we've then created a monster that we're trying to feed, and you are feeding that with people. And the way we're doing that is through immigration. I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. McLean's position on this, that we need to really clamp down now on how many people we're giving Caymanian status to, and we need to look at how we're going to refine that, because the more people that we invite here to live with us, work alongside us, the more people are eventually going to become Caymanian, and we have to be careful. But
I think he also mentioned the vehicles.
The vehicles, I think, Mr. McLean, you were going to address that one. But just to wrap up my concerns on that, I agree with Mr. Borden. There seems to be this agenda to rapidly expand this population, and that is fine if we were also putting equal effort into developing Caymanians. and making sure that Caymanians benefit from all this development. Because what we have is a lot of development projects going on, a lot of, we talk about the GDP increasing. We're talking about, how well this place is doing, unemployment. You know why unemployment is dropping so quickly? Is because we are quickly making people Caymanian. And when you do the math, when you do the division, if you're adding more people, and obviously everybody that gets Cayman status has a job. So you're adding more employed people to that pool of Caymanians. Of course, the statistics are going to reflect that there are less Caymanians. But if you the same core of people that were unemployed before are still there.
Mm-hmm. The real measure of a country's success is not GDP, but rather GDP per capita. And really breaking down is real GDP per capita. If you were to look at the compending statistics and see the difference between GDP and real GDP, you realize that a lot of our GDP is driven by inflation, because it just means that the price is going up, so it appears that the country is producing more. That's the reason why we use base years and we look at real GDP. When I talk about GDP per capita, and this is very important, I'm going to try to break it down as simple as I can. If you have 5 people living in a house, and the total household income is $20,000, the average per person is $4,000. If you increase the number of people in the house to 10, and the house total income goes up to $30,000, yes, you will have what we call GDP growth. It will move from $20,000 to $30,000. That's almost a 50% increase. But then the average per person has dropped from $4,000 to $3,000 per person. That is our unemployment. If you look at the Cayman economy right now, the population is growing faster than the economy. It means, in simply put, the mouths to feed is growing faster than the pie is growing. And at some point, somebody's going to go hungry. And this has basically been my issue. Now, when you look at the pillars of our economy, financial services right now, which is the largest pillar, employs less than 9% of the total workforce. These are what you call the drivers of the economy. When you start getting to tourism and you look at the amount of people employed in tourism, you realize there's not that many Caymanians also within tourism. So again, these are the two drivers. Construction is a byproduct of those two industries. In other words, somebody needs to build a house, somebody needs to build a hotel, somebody needs to build a condo or something. It's being driven by a different demand. The areas that create demand in this country isn't growing as fast as it should. And what is growing is a consumption part. And so what we have is a consumption-based system that the day people in this country decide to start saving, a lot of people are going to be in trouble. That's the reason, as Mr. Borden calling about this, push to grow this population to 100,000. If you look And what I'm old enough right now, because when I was born, the population was about 10,000 people. I remember when we need to get to 25,000, we need to get to 50,000, and we need to get 100,000. Every single benchmark that they have set that we need to get to, we have gotten to, and the problems have gotten worse. Our population in the last 7 years, doing this again, the company statistics, grew by 8,000 people. The number of cars went up by 25,000. How can you justify for 8,000 increase in population and 25,000 cars? And of course, you subtract those that basically went out, you still may have a net of about 20,000 cars. I mean, this is unsustainable, and we can't sit down and keep running this country with no plan, no nothing. You look at the development plan; it's been peace. The first caller called in a refer to foreclosures. We don't even have a mortgage law. We have over $2 billion worth of mortgages in this country, and no law in which to govern it. The banks have been running around willy-nilly, and I can tell you that was one of my first political lessons. Because one of my very first motions I took was to basically put some amendments to the registered land law, which is the only law that we have to deal with mortgages. I was asked to withdraw it because the government was working on something, and here we are 2 years later and still nothing. You know what I mean? So the vehicle issue, I know Mr. McLean had touched on it, but Mr. Bodden is right. We are now building a country with no plan, and that's why I said over and over, this open immigration policy cannot continue. And also, you know what is the scariest part? When I speak to new Caymanians, people who have newly become Caymanians, they're the ones saying to me, Chris, you guys need to close the door. The indigenous Caymanians are the one who just, okay, we're good, but the new Caymanians are saying, guys, this is getting out of hand. You need to close the door. You can't keep doing it.
Close it after I've gotten in.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we have 3 minutes to talk about the seaweed problem. Let's see if we can talk about the seaweed and the government's approach. You've completely addressed that. Okay, what haven't we addressed?
Okay, Mr. Bodden, the car import thing. I just brought a motion which I withdrew to allow Mr. Austin to bring his forward. I didn't want to steal his thunder. But one of the concerns I have is it's like Roy used to say, it's multifaceted, the problems that we're having with these vehicles. People on work permit bringing in cars with no business license and selling them. Mr. Bryan just asked a question, and the last 2 years we have had nearly 5,000 cars per year come into this country. Prior to that, it was like in the teens, 15, 16, 1,700 per year. And that is what is driving this. Now, this thing about population increase, I will never support the artificially increasing the population in this country for the purposes of economic driver, because that's basically what they're trying to do. To keep your population balanced, I think that it is 2.3. The birth rate must be 2.3. Right now we're at 1.8, but it appears like we want to bring that up to 3, 4, 5. And that is not good for this country. That's why we are building so many different things to try and bring this up. And yes, the Chamber of Commerce did have that on their agenda for that meeting, which was postponed because the Minister of Finance mother died, I think. And he was one of the guests. He was the headliner there.
Which I noticed I wasn't invited to that, but that's fine because I'd have loved to have gone to hear what they was going to put out for that one. But that's fine.
Yeah. So I have become concerned about that, Roy. When I was there as Minister for Works, I guess I was fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time when you could partially build your way out of traffic congestion by building roads. But it's past that now. It's past that with nearly over 4,000 cars coming into this country, over 3,000 on average over the last 10 years, and there is no room. We're not going to have room. There's a public transport aspect of it that needs to be addressed. We hear about the public transport. Someone called in about their behavior on the road. I totally agree. We need to deal with that. We need to deal with parking in Georgetown. Remote parking, satellite parking, if we want to call it that. I think that's the correct name. I tried doing that when I was there. Nobody supported me with it. I tried going through the forest. Nobody supported me with it. That's fine. I left it there. But I also told them at the time, in 10 years' time, when I'm sitting in traffic, so will you. And so said, so done. And that's where we are. Well, I'll leave that other one.
Okay, going to a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Saturday, June 15 from 11 a.m. at the Rotary Schoolhouse at the Queen Elizabeth II Botanical Park in Northside. It's Nature's Explorers Storytime by Rotary Central. Come along, skip along, little boys, little girls. You, our little people, are about to have a marvelous experience. The Nature Explorers Storytime of your lives, featuring Spark School of Performing Arts. Storytime comes alive at the Rotary Schoolhouse in the Botanical Park, where goodies and snacks will be provided for the children. Children must be accompanied by an adult. Nature's Explorers Storytime by Rotary Central. Innovation, inspiration to the next generation. Rotary Central. Be the inspiration.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating.
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger licking good.
It's hard to shop for Dad, isn't it? He seems to have everything and loves anything you buy, but you want that special gift. So now is the time to head down to Christian Enlightenment Center. You will find Christ-centered resources that educate, encourage, and inspire. Show Dad your appreciation for his love, kindness, and the strong support he's given over all these years. Make Christian Enlightenment Center your first stop for Father's Day gifts that will leave a lasting impression on your dad's heart. Christian Enlightenment Center, open 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Saturday in Georgetown.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have opened the phone lines. We still haven't completely responded, or maybe not to the satisfaction of some of our listeners. In relation to the March of 1970, we don't have a whole lot about that here. I'm not familiar with it because I wasn't in the Cayman Islands at that time. Leader of the opposition, Mr. McLean, wasn't as well, and some of our MLAs weren't born at that point. We will seek to get more information on that. But what it did demonstrate was that the people of the Cayman Islands were prepared to go to the streets, hit the streets. We had more activists in the Cayman Islands in the 70s than we probably have now. People who were prepared to stand up and to put their faces forward in terms of issues and to have their placards and stuff like that.
I remember the march. My dad was in it, but he wouldn't allow us to get into it. I had to stand over there by Barra and watch it. I remember that specific.
You're old.
Mr. Connor?
Okay, go right ahead, Mr.
Connor. I just for one of the callers, Mrs. Archer, that called in. She obviously had some concerns about what the government is doing, not doing in respect to addressing the foreclosure problem in the Cayman Islands, and it's obviously one of those topics that is of close to my heart because it was something I was focused on from the election up till now. I would just encourage her that as far as what the government is doing, the Cayman Islands Law Reform Commission has released an annual report by the Attorney General, and if she Googles that, it'll give you a basic idea of where things are at. The only thing that I know so far that the government is doing is currently considering some reforms in legislation that that governs the mortgage process. So I think what the government is basically saying, based on the report and its finding, is that they're trying to analyze whether or not laws should be changed, what laws should be changed, because there's no one specific law that deals with mortgages. It's rather complicated with a number of different laws connected together. So I like to be as factual as possible in respect. I don't think the government is doing enough, but at least I'm waiting to hear back where they're going to go from this step now, because there's no question as to whether those things should be changed. I think they just want to realize it for themselves, and let's see what they do in respect to the next step. But it would be an interesting read for Ms. Archer if she would like to take a look at that.
Okay, one of our...
I think one of the issues, was in terms of SEMA. And this goes back, because right now, I can tell you there are some... To SEMA's credit, I can see where they've been stepping up in terms of some enforcement before. And yes, years gone by, it used to be a situation of more like guidance note, and now they're kind of pushing a little bit more. And I think a lot of that is also driven by even the review that the CATF review that they had a while back too. So, but again, SEMA can only enforce what it is that we have on the books. And I think we need to basically put a little bit more teeth in the law, and we give SEMA a little bit more power, because in fairness to them, they are somewhat restricted, and it is still the legislative process and us as legislators to deal with it. But again, like I said, there needs to be a certain will and a certain appetite in which to tackle this issue once and for all.
Okay. One of our listeners has written in and said, once small comment, we keep saying each time that a crisis arises, the people need to be educated on the Constitution. Person goes on to say, our people must also take their own initiative to do so. Not only blaming the schools for not teaching it, others that have come along have studied and known more about the Constitution simply because they read and that they study it. Another one of our listeners has written in and said, says here, good morning to you and your guests. As for my question for the opposition is if there are any plans to form a enlisting program for young and mid-age Caymanians that are interested in the field of public safety, especially for the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. If we want a police service that is 100% Caymanian, that's the way to go. We have to keep in mind that we have students leaving high school who are still lacking in various educational areas that may be interested but not prepared enough to pursue these careers. If we're not going to have a police academy, we should at least form a system to make it possible for all Caymanians, despite their educational level, not just Caymanians with O levels or exceptional levels of education. I've interviewed many, and a lot of Caymanians have failed the entry test in the past with nowhere to go.
That's a very important point the messenger said. And I think there is a great opportunity that we can use here with the Cadet Corps to potentially expand the availability of what they do there and what they teach there to service the concept of what the messenger just said. Is a good idea. There are some kids who just didn't get quite there and have applied to the police service. And if the Cadet Corps offered extra services by way of, bringing them up to par, they could potentially go back and be back in the police service. But it's a good concern. We definitely want to encourage more police officers, more Caymanians to be police officers. But I must say this, funny enough, over the weekend I spoke to a former police officer who was in charge of training. And he asked that question, and he says, Kenneth, why do you think we don't have enough Caymanians in the police force? And I said, well, I guess not a lot of them apply. He says, that's garbage. He says the training of the person who's in charge of the training process has to put the concerted effort into looking for Caymanians. And he remembers back in the day when he was in charge of doing so. And there's many times they found non-Caymanians, but they just wouldn't hire them until they found the Caymanians. And that's how you make concerted efforts to do so and put initiatives in place, like, say, for instance, the expansion of the Cadet Corps to make sure that you train up and get them ready. But if it's important to be policed by your own, we'll take those steps to do so.
Okay, we have two callers. What we're going to do is we're going to take those two callers. We're going to ask them to be as efficient with their time as possible. We're going to take your comments, your questions, and go to a commercial break and give our panel an opportunity to answer, because after that, the show will close at 10 o'clock. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Woosey. I didn't know if I was on or not. I've been listening for several minutes. And good morning to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. McLean.
Morning.
Morning from Emily and Mr. Chris Saunders.
Morning.
Emily and Mr. August Cool.
Morning.
Good morning.
And Mr. Kenneth here too.
Kenneth Bryan is also here.
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Coming to him, Emily and Mr. Kenneth Bryan. I will never address you all, any of you, by your first names. I always say Mr. You deserve that respect, unlike others who call him. Anyway, you said the right thing, the Cadet Corps, and that's what I thought it would have been formed for. Growing up in Jamaica, my oldest brother, Stan, before he went off to sea in 1955, nothing about, and a little bit before that, when he was in school in 53. He was in the Cadet Corps, and that's what it's for. But there they have a defense force. We don't have one here, so the police more or less act that dual role. And it could definitely be, because it's for officer material. The whole world that does Cadet Corps, that's what it's for. Officer material for their armies, their navies, their air force, whatever. And this it could be done for the police force here, proper training. With regards to politically loaded questions, you are politicians. So questions are going to come in that are politically loaded. But it appears to me, when I call, I give my personal opinion. It is okay if a politically loaded question derides, belittles the government, but it's not okay if it's something that is questioning or pinning down opposition members.
I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it. I should make you know that, old boy. I'm not afraid.
Mr. Saunders. But it's going to be politically loaded. Yes, maybe it was. But there may have been a reasoning behind that gentleman's question. I know who he is. And it may have been a reasoning. But then the problem with us here is that when some we never seem to come out right away and answer those questions. We leave people to speculate and guess. But that is the thing with us, and I've always said this, and I'll say it and continue to say it. The consumption-based taxation is not working. It hasn't worked for the last 25 years. We can see it, it's obvious. And that's why we have too many cars on our roads, and anybody can bring and import a car here. That is wrong. I said it from way over 20 years ago. It should not be allowed. It should not be allowed. The only people can stop that are you, our elected representatives. They can't put a stop to that. The same with the health insurance, the same with the pension, which are major plan. Because major problems, major problem, because it impacts the whole, not everything, the financial aspects of Cayman, the whole economy. One thing we need to understand is we say GDP. Is that the gross domestic product? Is that what it means?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the product we have, the only domestic product we really have of any consequence.
Yeah, caller, we're going to ask you to wrap it up real quickly. I'm sorry, but we're running out of time.
The financial world, that money isn't made here, which you say is more than half of it. It isn't made here. The people who are handling it are earning salaries out of it, and you said it's only 9% of the working force that's involved in that. So you can do the math, as everybody keeps saying on the radio, do the math and see what the problem is there. But we don't have any real domestic product besides our tourism force, the personnel involved in it. So therefore, the GDP is not a true figure of things at all, and we don't have any tax returns, so we can't really tell what monies are there and are not there and made, and who made it, and so forth.
Caller, we want to thank you. We've apologize. We're out of time. We have to take the commercial break. We have one caller left on hold. We're not taking any more calls because we have to give our panel an opportunity for a wrap-up as well. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Wow, it seems I buy a battery every year.
Oh, for real? You should buy your car battery from Vantman. Their batteries are tough. I have a 3-year warranty on mine.
Oh, I know that trick. I take it back and they charge me a percentage of the price.
Hear me out, bro. Not at Vamp Bobo. You can get a 3-year full warranty, no charge. And if they install it at Vamp, it includes free towing and jumping service. And let me tell you, you will never have to get your hands dirty changing no battery.
Get Motorcraft Max or Plus battery for 20% off when it's installed by the service department at Vamp Motors on Walkers Road. Now that's a deal you can get charged up about. Vamp Motors, keeping you on the road.
Extended through June.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Always ensure that food preparation utensils are washed with a strong detergent and rinsed in hot water in the event that they have made contact with flood water. Boil silverware for 10 minutes and immerse glass, porcelain, china, and plastic items in a solution of hot water and 10% chlorine bleach before use. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning. Very busy as usual. Before I go to the phone lines, I just want to wish a happy birthday to Mrs. Carmen Wilson Hanlon. Now, if you know Miss Carmen, she remembers everybody's birthday and either sends a gift, a card, an email, or something. I don't know. She must have it all stored somewhere, but every person's birthday. So it would be remiss of us not to wish Miss Carmen Wilson Hanlon a happy birthday today because she always remembers everyone's.
Happy birthday, Miss Carmen. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Osi. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Fine. I won't keep you long.
Okay.
And good morning to the panel as well.
Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Thank you. And since today is your last day for the week on the talk show, I want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day coming up.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Same to you. All right. Yeah, just quickly now, there's a lot of things in the island that a lot of people are not really happy about. When you're talking about the population explosion, I guess is one of the proper words to use for it. A significant amount of Caymanians, status holders as well, are looking for a way out. And I mean a way out. Something drastically needs to be changed into this island because, all is not pretty in this island. Doesn't mean that everything is doom and gloom, but, it's not nice to look around and see what's really happening here. So we're not going to just lay the blame on politicians, but a lot of significant changes need to be. And I would like to left this message with all in the island. We need to take on board what we have, not trying to educate anyone, but things in the island are not so well. So I just hope that people would just take a serious look at what's happening and try to do something about it. And last of all, listening to some of the real issues and the ideas of John Public. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a pleasant day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. Gentlemen, the mic, yours.
I just want to go on a little bit on, but Mr. Bryan talked about the expansion of the Cadet Corps. Ever since, what we should all remember, I don't want anyone to forget that the architect of the Cadet Corps was Dr. Roy Button. Mm-hmm. I mean, he fought for that for years and years. And then when he did eventually get into the glass house, as he talks about, he put it in place. Now, the time has come, I believe, to expand that, to include other means of getting people in, young adults in there, adolescents in there. I have fought for many years for government to expand it, subsequent to Roy, for us to give them some land. Government's got plenty of land up in the East End. Give them some land so they can build their barracks and get patrons to contribute to it and what have you and what not, because it is a good system. On the matter of the police coming from there, one of the things we used to have in this country, people like Charles Clifford, Dixon from Kimmerer, a number of them, they all came out of the recruits, them being recruited from schools, from high school. That's where they came from. Charles Clifford was a rookie, would be, or a cadet with the police, long before he even graduated from high school. And he was very successful in this. So was Dixon and a couple more. We need to make a greater effort to try and attract, because it's not very attractive for these young people coming out of school, and we need to make it a little more attractive, because what we're getting is people coming here working for long periods of time elsewhere and then go and join the police force, and they have to be trained then. When we need to attract younger Caymanians into.
What about some form of national service? You also find that people who do national service are sometimes gravitate towards the security forces and other areas of government as well. It's something that's been talked about in the Cayman Islands, but never pursued. Some form of national service.
Well, you remember when we did, you were in cabinet when I proposed we do the Coast Guard and the helicopter with all the boats and stuff. You remember it was me who spearheaded that. Remember one of the paper that I put to cabinet was that we would get volunteers to go into that Coast Guard, like they do in Bermuda and the likes. That has not reach its full potential, I believe, either. That's where we need to go. And then the Cadet Corps can be expanded into that also. You know, but people ridicule Dr. Bodden for it when he first brought it up. Oh, he wanted to create his own army and the likes. He was looking much further ahead than many other people, and he was looking for that kind of service to country, national service, and pride in their country, and instilling pride in adolescents in their country. There are many who have come through that Cadet Corps, young Caymanians who are very prominent in our society now, you know. And that's what Dr. Bodden was looking at. And it's unfortunate that we haven't expanded it over the years.
Mm-hmm. Mr. McLean, one of our listeners, actually a caller who spoke about the banking situation and the checks. And she just pointed out that, her comments and where she got the information from was an article in the Caymanian Compass dated the 10th of April of this year, and it's captioned, Ard McLean, check fees are against the law.
Absolutely, and the law specifically says that. We just amended the law to allow them to do the electronic transaction, and during that period is when I debated that, and I thought Mr. Bryan's explanation for it was enough, but nevertheless, it is against the law. The law specifically says that the banker must pay face value of that document, and the government is responsible for ensuring that the laws are enforced. Now, I don't know if it's SEMA that needs to do it or the Minister of Finance, but they need to address it because there was no response from government saying that I was wrong. Mm-hmm. The law is very specific, and it's there.
Okay. Very quickly, and if you have any announcements that you want to make in relation to meetings or anything, we have 2 minutes left. So, quickly,
I want to quickly say tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock, I'm attending a meeting down in Newlands, at the park on Hemlock Way. Mm-hmm. It's a community meeting to address some of the crime concerns. We're hoping to have the police there. So I'm urging all residents of that area to come out because there are some concerns that are growing in that area. Okay. Unfortunately, I won't make it to the march, the family march, but because I have to attend that meeting, but I'm sure other members might try to get to the march.
Okay.
Kenny?
I was just about to actually talk about the march itself, but I just encourage people to come out in respect to the march and what it stands for.
What is it about the march?
It's family life.
Okay.
And it's driven mostly by the church, but we have to respect the church and what they stand for, and it is for protecting of our Cayman family life. So I encourage all of those, even if you're not fully aware about it, you can check on social media. The details are there, and come out and show your support.
Okay.
Chris, I got one thing to say.
Anything?
No, I just want to thank everyone for the calls and everything that come in. I know we still have some unanswered questions, so we need to just deal with that from next week.
Yes.
But nonetheless, I just want to thank everyone and have a safe and happy weekend and a good Father's Day.
Okay, and one of our listeners did inquire when you guys are going to be on the show again.
Every Friday.
I pointed out, I sent an email to them saying they will be on next week Friday, and they're on every Friday. WCW Communities presents Father's Day at Play. And all are welcome. Saturday, the 15th.
That's tomorrow.
Of June, tomorrow, 6 to 8 p.m., Windsor Park, Georgetown. And I think Miss Cheryl Miles sent some other stuff out as well in relation to the, hope I can find it.
And while you're
looking, would you kindly mention the attached flyer, bulletin board, This is a community event organized by 3 groups of the Georgetown district. So it's the Washington Boulevard, Central, Scranton, and Windsor Park. But this is all taking place at the one location as well. Correct, Mr. Bryan?
Yes, correct. That's 100% correct. Starts 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Windsor Park, Georgetown tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can always talk to Ms. Romelia Welcome, Ms. Cheryl Miles, or Ms. Sandra Miller. Okay. So invite everybody to come down.
Folks, I want to thank you for allowing
just quickly, Jose. I just want to end by saying, two callers talked about, one caller something, Chris took up this thing about politically motivated question, loaded question. It's we're not afraid of it. Trust me, I'm not afraid of it. I've been in this business long enough. I can face the people of my country. I face them every day, and I don't have a problem with it. In that regard, the question needs to be asked. The majority runs the country. This is a democracy. Where are they when they are the ones who are responsible for running the country? Why don't they come out and get the loaded questions so they can face our people and answer them too?
Folks, I want to thank
sorry, I know you're over, but the thing I want to get at was this. I don't mind the difficult questions, but when the question is you're trying to impugn or imply that there was some conflict or something personal, that's what I have an issue with. If we want to stick to the issues, we stick to the issues, but not the personal innuendos and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I had a problem with.
Okay, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And a happy Father's Day to all. Happy Father's Day to all. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.